The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of Lexington Community Radio or its board of directors. The views expressed are solely those of the programmers.
Listening to Off the Cuff. Now, here's your host, Adam Banks.
Welcome, everybody, to Off the Cuff. I am Adam Banks, coming at you live from Lexington, Kentucky. Thank you for listening to the show, and thank you for tuning in to WLXU 93.9 FM. In addition to listening to us on the radio, you can check out our Facebook live stream at Off the Cuff with Adam Banks, or you can download the Radio Lex app on your smartphone device to listen anywhere in the entire world. You can also stream the show live from the website at radiolex.us. It is April the 27th, 2023, 4:01 to be exact. Folks, I had a whole other show planned to talk about today for you guys, but because of life and things happening in life, things can sometimes take a turn. I chose to do an audible today and completely changed the format of the show, ladies and gentlemen, because Jerry Springer, one of the most influential and controversial figures in television history, has died at the age of 79 years old. Jerry Springer, he hosted the smash hit syndicated talk show, The Jerry Springer Show, for 27 years. Jerry Springer, when I woke up to the news that he passed away, I seen it from TMZ. They are the ones that broke it, and I seen it on Twitter. I was very, very saddened by that. There are a lot of broadcasters that I look up to growing up, and some of those broadcasters were people like Larry King, were people like Howard Stern, people like Jerry Springer. And you may laugh at that and think, oh my gosh, you like that tabloid talk show host? Of course I did. I loved the way Jerry was able to connect with people. Jerry was somebody who could connect to an audience better than anybody else could. That's why he was so successful, the way he connected with his audience, the way he connected with people. Jerry Springer, he became a worldwide sensation with his show. And what's funny is when his show first started in 1991 on NBC, it wasn't the Jerry Springer Show that we know today. It was a very serious political show. And it was because of a fateful episode one day. There was a controversial topic that was on the show, and a fight broke loose live on the air. And it was because of that fight that the show turned into what it is, or was. It was because of that fight. The ratings for that episode that the fight happened on was higher than any episode they ever aired. People were tuning in after that episode to see if it would happen again. So Jerry and his producer got together and decided to change the complete dynamic of the Jerry Springer Show, and it became the show we know and love today. A very tabloid, explicit, over-the-top, rough and rowdy show. It was so popular in the 1990s, it even topped Oprah Winfrey in several different major markets. And it did that for as long as Oprah and Jerry were on at the same time. That's how crazy his show was. That's how popular his show was. Jerry Springer was everywhere. It was because of Jerry Springer, some could argue, that pay-per-view was a thing back in the day. Yeah, wrestling and boxing made pay-per-view very famous, but so did Jerry Springer. Don't you remember those Too Hot for TV specials that they would put on television because they were too risque to put on the air? So they would put them on pay-per-view. Some of the craziest guests Some of the craziest guests that Jerry Springer ever had was, of course, the I Married a Horse episode, when the guy married a horse and he brought the horse onto the stage and Jerry interviewed the horse and he tried to talk to the guy about why he decided to marry the horse and what made him love the horse so much. There was so many crazy guests that were on the Jerry Springer show. Don't you guys remember Heidi the adult baby? That's a man who identified as Heidi, and he was a baby. And this was in the 90s. This was before the era where everyone identifies as something and it's acceptable. This was back in the 90s when it was very taboo to identify other than anything else than an adult. But back in the 90s, Jerry was pushing that envelope. People were coming on his show and saying that they were a baby, when in fact they were a 35-year-old man. They were identifying as a baby. What about the woman who cut off her own legs because she said she didn't like them? Literally, there was a woman named Sandra that came on the Jerry Springer show, cut off her own legs. Earl, he was a man who cut off his own genitalia because he decided that it was being used too much and he didn't want to go back to that lifestyle. There was a woman who slept with 70 men in 10 hours. Her name was Annabelle. What about Heather, the woman who got pregnant by her brother? What about Charlie, the woman whose husband left her for his sister? Mark, the guy who married a horse, like I said in the beginning of the show. There were so many controversial guests that came on the Jerry Springer show, and it made it what it is today. Jerry Springer is far more than just a talk show host. He was actually a politician. Think about the life that Jerry Springer had just in the 79 years that he was on Earth. He was elected to the Cincinnati City Council in 1971. He was a city council member for Cincinnati. That's hard to get, especially in a major city like Cincy. He resigned in 1974 after admitting to soliciting a prostitute. That's right, he bought a prostitute, and I reckon it was with city funds, and because of that, he was removed from his city council seat. Now, Jerry was very honest about it, and he was very open, and he went on the air, and he didn't lie about it. He said, yes, this is what I did. I am embarrassed. I am sorry. And it was because of that the people forgave him. They thought Jerry was so open and they thought he was so real that they decided to give him another chance. So he won his seat back. And not only did he win his seat back, he became the mayor of Cincinnati for a 1-year term. Now, he had an unsuccessful run for governor, but how many of you guys sitting at home listening right now can say you have ran for governor? Jerry Springer was a serious candidate for the governorship of Ohio. Now, he did lose, but after that, you would think, oh, his career is over. He bought a prostitute. Nobody's ever going to want to hire him in a public setting. But oh, were people ever so wrong. He became a news anchor right after that for WLWT, Channel 5 in Cincinnati, and brought that station from being the number 3rd in that market to number 1. People loved Jerry so much. I told you, the way he would resonate with his audience is what made people love Jerry Springer. And that's where his television career began, as a news anchor for a Cincinnati station. They knew the producer of WLWT, the producer of that newscast. They knew that Jerry was popular. They knew he was favored well with viewers. So they wanted to give him a try doing a talk show. So they recorded the first few episodes of the Jerry Springer Show right in the WLWT studios in Cincinnati. And it became into what it was. It became so big, Jerry had to move out to Chicago full-time, work at NBC, and his show became national. It all of a sudden was picked up in the major markets, and then it just spread like wildfire. He carried that success all the way to his retirement in 2018. Now, even after that, he had one more run in TV with a courtroom show, Judge Jerry, and it ran for 3 seasons. Now we know a little bit about why Jerry Springer died, and I'll get to that in just a second, but it makes sense of why he stopped doing Judge Jerry. Jerry Springer would have worked well, he did work up until his death, but he worked to the point to where he couldn't anymore. That's what kept him alive. That's what kept him sane. That's what kept him healthy, was working. A family spokesperson says that Jerry was battling a brief illness. Now, TMZ said that they had a source saying that it was pancreatic cancer, and he was diagnosed just a few months ago, and here lately he took a turn for the worse, and that's when he passed away. He was survived by his daughter, Katie Springer, and his oldest sister, Evelyn. And it's very sad, and my thoughts and prayers go out to the Springer family. No matter how crazy that show got, the Jerry Springer Show, because it was a crazy hour. No matter how crazy the show got, I love the fact that Jerry would end the show with a final thought segment. And it was about a 3-minute segment where he would just sit up in front of the audience and he would just give the audience and the viewers a final thought. It would be a little speech. And it brought everybody together. It felt kind of like a hug after the show. Some of Jerry's greatest final thoughts, or some of Jerry's best final thoughts, were some of my favorite moments of the Jerry Springer Show. Not the nonsense that you saw on Jerry Springer. But I have a clip to play of the Jerry Springer Show, and this is one of my favorite Jerry's final thought speeches that he ever gave, and this was on the 25th anniversary of the Jerry Springer Show. Take a listen.
So today we start our 25th year of doing this show. My gratefulness surpassed only by my surprise at its longevity. How in the world did we last so long? Let's be honest, virtually anyone could do what I do, which is to basically say 3 things. You did what? Come on out. We'll be right back. You practice that and you'll be hosting your own show in no time. Oh, there is one other thing that brings success. Luck. Lots of it. And surround yourself with smart, talented people who know a heck of a lot more about television than I do. Look, I've been blessed through these 25 years to have people of enormous talent and drive producing a show of constant challenges which can't be saved day to day by simply booking a big-name celebrity. You see, we don't have any on our show. No, just regular folks of no fame, little if any wealth, and very little influence. Folks just taking a moment, which they rarely if ever get, to let the world know something about what they are thinking or feeling or doing. Admittedly, it's often crazy or outside the norm of accepted behavior, but what I've learned over our quarter century of shows is that deep down, we are all alike. Some of us just dress better, or had a better education, or better luck in the gene pool of parents. I'll say it again. Deep down, we are all the same. We all want to be happy. We cry when we're hurt. We're angry when we've been mistreated. And to be liked, accepted, and respected, not to mention loved, is the greatest gift of all. Yes, we're all alike. Know this. There's never been a moment in the 25 years of doing this show that I ever thought I was better than the people who appear on our stage. I'm not better, only luckier. So thanks for the 25 years. We've signed on to do a whole bunch more. And as long as I stay healthy, we will. And on that note, take care of yourself and each other.
And it was just moments like that that made the show so great. And I was very fortunate enough to be able to go and watch a taping of the Jerry Springer Show while it was in its prime. I went to the show with some old friends back in 2007, and it was the most surreal thing that I had ever watched. What you saw on TV was happening right in front of me with the naked eye. I could see Jerry Springer actually tapped him on the shoulder to shake his hand, and he was as nice as could be. And anybody I've ever heard talk about Jerry Springer, about what he was like as a person, nobody has ever said anything negative about him. I had a guest on this show one time who owned a cupcake factory in Lexington, and she talked about how Jerry Springer went into her cupcake factory when he was in Lexington one day, and talked about how he was just the nicest person ever. And that shocked me none, because I personally got to meet the icon, and he was as nice as what everybody else says. So it really does bother me that Jerry Springer is no longer on this earth. He was one of my favorite broadcasters. He was the king of daytime talk, and he will forever be remembered, and his legacy will forever live on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. Stick with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to Off the Cuff. Adam Banks here with you. No, this is not wrestling theme, although it sounds like a good wrestling theme. This was the theme song for the Jerry Springer Show in its later years. Now, of course, the talk show had many, many different renditions of a theme song, but when the show got really raunchy and scandalous, they picked this music to kind of suit its new style. Someone once told me that the Off the Cuff with Adam Banks theme song sounds a lot like the Jerry Springer Show, and I'll take that as a compliment all day. One of the greatest talk show theme songs, I believe, that's out there. And of course, there's many, many different talk shows that have existed that's had great themes, this being one of them. But let's talk about some of those great talk show theme songs that have existed. Now, we've talked about all kinds of theme songs on this show, the best game show theme songs, musical scores, best movie original songs. But why not the best talk show theme songs of all time? And we'll start with this one, The Jerry Springer Show. Definitely a theme that fits the personality of this show to a T. Now, since we are talking about daytime talk shows, and we know that back in the 90s, there were no other great television shows like 90s talk shows. I'm talking about the talk shows where the host would walk around with a microphone, the audience would participate and kind of roast the guest that came on the show. So, sticking with daytime talk shows, what about this theme right here as one of the most iconic talk show theme songs of all time? This is from The Ricky Lake Show, composed by Jelly Bean and Ed Terry. Now, some people say that Ricky Lake was the female Jerry Springer. She was the young, up-and-coming, hip talk show host that a lot of the younger audience like to watch, and she did have a lot of scandalous things on her show. But that just goes to show how big of a trailblazer Jerry was, because Ricky mirrored a lot of her shows like the Jerry Springer Show. Now, this music was a staple for many 90s babies as entertainment back in the day. This became one of the 90s most highly rated talk shows, rivaling Jerry Springer and Oprah Winfrey. The person who composed this theme music also composed music for Madonna, like Holiday and other Madonna tunes. My mom was a big Ricky Lake fan. She loved this show. So when I hear this music, it makes me think of my childhood. Everybody would chant, "Go Ricky, go Ricky, go Ricky, go Ricky." All right, next on my list as one of the most iconic talk show theme songs of all time comes from another daytime talk show, Sally Jessy Raphael. Everyone knows her as the redhead that wore the red glasses. She was the older talk show host female, and she had this iconic theme song. You couldn't have a talk show theme song in the 90s without a bunch of saxophones. This just reminds me being home from school at 11 o'clock. All right, coming up next on the list is one of the most iconic talk show theme songs of all time. And getting out of the daytime, let's jump into the nighttime. Some call this possibly the most iconic talk show themes of all time. This theme is called Johnny's Theme. It was from The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. It's an instrumental jazz song played at the opening theme of The Tonight Show. And Johnny used this theme for the show's entire run, 1962 to 1992, 30 years. This piece was played as his theme music. It was composed by Paul Anka and Johnny Carson. It was performed by The Tonight Show Band, which released an arrangement by Tommy Newsom in 1986 as part of its Grammy-winning debut album. This song was retired along with Carson in 1992 when Jay Leno took over because they didn't think that this music matched up well to Jay Leno, so they wanted to change it. I have to agree, you couldn't get more different than Jay Leno and Johnny Carson. But his theme was 100% iconic. And, you know, some people might argue with me this, but I'm going to have to put this song next on my list. Also, a Tonight Show host, Jimmy Fallon. The Tonight Show, as of right now, I love this theme. Hey, hey. Now, this song is more energetic. It's very jazzy. So it's still jazzy, but it's more modern. And I think it suits Jimmy Fallon's personality. It gets everybody excited. He's ready to run out, give his monologue, and it puts everybody in an energetic mood. This song is also performed by the Tonight Show Band. A band is so important in late night. They literally can become your co-host. Sometimes they are your co-host because a late night talk show host typically hosts the show by himself, so the person he feeds off of is the band. All right, next on my list as one of the most iconic talk show theme songs of all time comes from another daytime talk show, The Ellen DeGeneres Show. This music is called Let's Have a Little Fun, and this was composed by Charlotte Gibson. Now, eventually, Ellen did change her theme music. She had Pink come out and record a theme song for her, which is decent. It was okay. I just feel like that talk shows, they don't need a famous artist to perform their song. It kind of takes away from the show itself. You don't want to overshadow your theme music with a star, so have somebody that's not really well known do your theme song. But that's my opinion. The Ellen DeGeneres Show ran from 2003 to 2021, 19 years. Or 2022, excuse me. 19 years on the air. And it came to an abrupt ending. Things in the media started coming out against Ellen DeGeneres, calling her mean and hateful and toxic. And it wasn't long after that her show was canceled. All right, coming Coming up next on the list as one of the most iconic talk show theme songs of all time is Dr. Phil. You know, I love the Dr. Phil show. It's sadly not on anymore. We've talked about the Dr. Phil show ending on this show, and I just hate it because the people that I grew up watching are leaving. When I turn on daytime TV now, I see Kelly Clarkson, I see Drew Barrymore, I see Tamara Hall. I didn't grow up watching those people, so I don't really like their shows. Call it nostalgia or call it just getting older. I like shows like Dr. Phil. Since 2011, Dr. Phil was ranked as the top syndicated talk show. Before that, it was the second highest rated talk show after the Oprah Winfrey Show. So eventually, Dr. Phil went on to beat people like Jerry Springer in the ratings. He was number 2 to Oprah. All right. Coming up next on the list as one of the most iconic talk show theme songs of all time is going to be from this talk show. Larry King Live, which was hosted by Larry King on CNN from 1985 to 2010. It was the channel's most watched and longest running program with over 1 million viewers every night. And when you heard this theme, you knew that Larry King would be on in a few seconds saying, "Tonight on Larry King." Another broadcaster that, to me, you can't get no better than Larry King. I would love to have a show like Larry King had. One-on-one with a guest, an intimate setting. It would be fun. Think about the people he interviewed. Presidents, murderers, kings, queens, judges, lawyers, doctors, politicians, movie stars. The list went on and on and on. All right, one more on the list that I'm going to put on there, and you got to put it on there. And I think that this is my favorite late night theme that ever existed. And I don't say this because he was my favorite late night host, but it was this energetic theme that I think was cool, and no other late night show matched it. It's from Conan's show on TBS called Conan. Check it out. Now, Conan O'Brien ran for 11 seasons, this show Conan did. Now, we all know Conan, he had many jobs before this show. He was the host of Late Night with Conan O'Brien. He was the host of the Tonight Show for 9 months. And then he also hosted this show, Conan. And this was the theme for that show. When Conan started his new show, he expressed that he wanted to change his theme because the theme that he always used for Late Night, he carried over with him to the Tonight Show, and he used it for almost 20 years. So he felt like having a new show, he needed a new theme, so that's why he changed it to this one. And arguably, I think it's the best. The new theme song was co-written by Vivino and Conan O'Brien. It has to be pretty cool to co-write your own theme music. Maybe one day, when somebody else in the future is doing a show like this, they'll put Off the Cuff with Adam Banks' theme song as one of the best talk show theme songs of all time. And I I remember when I was trying to create a theme song for the show, I wanted to create a theme song that sounded raw, sounded rowdy, a little rough around the edges, hence why it does sound very Jerry Springerish. And I think it fits the personality of the show. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is a list of some of the most iconic talk show theme songs of all time. I think that I covered the best that are out there. Now, if I left any off, please feel free to write on the show thread on Facebook at facebook.com/offthecuff with Adam Banks, and we'll certainly talk about it and maybe even play it. All right, folks, we're going to have to take another quick break. Stick with us. We'll be right back. To me, you can't get no better than Larry King. I would love to have a show like Larry King had. One-on-one with a guest, an intimate setting. It would be fun. Think about the people he interviewed. Presidents, murderers, kings, queens, judges, lawyers, doctors, politicians, movie stars. The list went on and on and on. All right, one more on the list that I'm going to put on there, and you got to put it on there. And I think that this is my favorite late night theme that ever existed. And I don't say this because he was my favorite late night host, but it was this energetic theme that I think was cool, and no other late night show matched it. It's from Conan's show on TBS called Conan. Check it out. Now, Conan O'Brien ran for 11 seasons, this show Conan did. Now, we all know Conan, he had many jobs before this show. He was the host of Late Night with Conan O'Brien. He was the host of the Tonight Show for 9 months. And then he also hosted this show, Conan. And this was the theme for that show. When Conan started his new show, he expressed that he wanted to change his theme because the theme that he always used for Late Night, he carried over with him to the Tonight Show, and he used it for almost 20 years. So he felt like having a new show, he needed a new theme, so that's why he changed it to this one. And arguably, I think it's the best. The new theme song was co-written by Vivino and Conan O'Brien. It has to be pretty cool to co-write your own theme music. Maybe one day, when somebody else in the future is doing a show like this, they'll put Off the Cuff with Adam Banks' theme song as one of the best talk show theme songs of all time. And I remember when I was trying to create a theme song for the show, I wanted to create a theme song that sounded raw, sounded rowdy, a little rough around the edges, hence why it does sound very Jerry Springerish. And I think it fits the personality of the show. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is a list of some of the most iconic talk show theme songs of all time. I think that I covered the best that are out there. Now, if I left any off, please feel free to write on the show thread on Facebook at facebook.com/offthecuff with Adam Banks, and we'll certainly talk about it and maybe even play it. All right, folks, we're going to have to take another quick break. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
You are listening to Radio Lex, the voice of the people, WLXU 93.9 LPFM, Lexington, Kentucky.
Radio Lex has the support of Founders Circle member Cy Pugh. Thanks, Cy.
Listen to Radio Lex everywhere. We broadcast live in the heart of Lexington on WLXU 93.9 FM. You can also listen on the TuneIn app or download the WLXU mobile apps from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. And you can always stream live from our website, radiolex.us. Radio Lex, tune in to the voice of the people.
Mr. Nice, come and roll the dice. The let's craze of the dance floor days is right there in my pocket. Oh, there are things that can give you wings, but I'll give you a rocket.
Come and try my Dixie biscuit.
Talking to your kids about the dangers of vaping can be hard. Getting them to listen to hot gossip is easy. So here's some drama you could share with your kid. Dude, did you hear about Cassie and Jake? No, but did you hear that vaping can cause irreversible lung damage and nicotine affects brain development? Nuh-uh. You don't need to gossip if you want to have an open conversation about vaping. So if you want to get tips on when and how to talk to your kids, visit talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Radio Lex has the support of vinyl sponsor Gloria Hansen. Thanks, Gloria.
Everybody to Off the Cuff. Adam Banks here with you. When you scroll through Instagram, there is one thing for sure you can say people love. Inspirational quotes. Everybody loves a good quote. When I teach my speech classes, I always encourage my students to maybe start their speech off or end their speech with a quote. Why, you may ask? Because people just love them. That's why you see them printed everywhere, on t-shirts, on posters. People even get quotes tattooed on their body. But why? Have you ever wondered that? Why do people do that? Why do people love quotes so much? Because they affirm what we already know or think we know. And it's awesome when you see somebody else writing it other than yourself because you feel a connection. So I think we can all agree that quotes are something that people love. And that's why here on Off the Cuff, I'm going to be starting a new permanent segment on the show. And every week on Off the Cuff, I will be giving a quote of the week. Now, I'll post the quote on social media on Sunday, and then I post it on the story, and you can go back and look at it. I've already posted the first one, which we'll talk about in just a second. But that will be Off the Cuff's quote of the week. And then on Thursday, which is today, we'll talk about the quote of the week. So if you got on Off the Cuff's Instagram page, you will see that I posted Off the Cuff's first quote of the week. The first quote of the week for Off the Cuff is, "Don't say maybe if you want to say no," by Paulo Coelho. Paulo Coelho is a Brazilian lyrist and novelist and a member of the Brazilian Academy of Letters since 2002. His novel, The Alchemist, is his most famous novel. And I love that quote, "Don't say maybe if you want to say no." Think about all the times we want to say no to something. What do we usually say? We say maybe because it's less awkward, it eases the tension a little bit, it don't sound as rude than flat out saying no. But look at what the word maybe can cause. It can cause hurt because what you've done is got somebody's hopes up for nothing. Usually when somebody says maybe, it means no. Now, not all the time, but usually yes. When somebody says maybe, it's because they don't want to tell you no. But all you're doing is giving that person false hope. You're giving that person something to just be let down over. So save yourself and save the other person the trouble by just saying no. As I have gotten older, I have become very distinguished at saying no. When I don't want to do something, I say no. What are you going to do? Take my birthday? So I just don't do things that I don't want to do. I rarely even say maybe because I feel more comfortable telling people no now. And it has worked out in the end because it doesn't give false hope for the other person, and it doesn't make me it doesn't make me out as a flaker. It doesn't make me out as a liar. So I think just saying no instead of maybe is a lot easier. So don't say maybe if you want to say no. That is Off the Cuffs quote of the week. And with that, folks, it is now time to take Off the Cuffs Song of the Week. So we'll be back after 2 words by Retrophile. The 2023 NFL Draft will be the 88th annual meeting for the NFL, and it's at 8 o'clock tonight. I don't know why they put it on so late, but they do. So the NFL, I think that all Kentuckians are trying to figure out where Will Levis is going to go. Some say top 5. Some people are even saying number 1. Personally, I think it will be the top 5. To me, he's either going to be pick 4 or 5, but it's neither here or there. But let's look at the top 5 prospects of the NFL draft, which is tonight. So the Panthers get the first pick, the Texans get the second, Titans third, Colts fourth, and Seahawks fifth. So here is the draft board that I find the most accurate. And the reason I chose this draft board was because the guy who picks these mock drafts has been correct. His probability of being correct and wrong far outweighs everybody else. So I think, according to this guy, that he knows what he's talking about. Bryce Young, he's got going number 1. He's the quarterback from Alabama. C.J. Stroud is going at number 2. He's the quarterback from Ohio State. Anthony Richardson will be going number 3. He is the quarterback from Florida. Will Levis will be going number 4 to the Colts. Wouldn't that be interesting? A lot of Kentucky fans would love that, just to drive up and watch Will Levis play. And then finally, 5th will be Will Anderson from Alabama, and he will be drafted to the Seahawks. Now, that's my prediction. That's where I think that these players will end up, and we'll just have to see. You'll have to catch the NFL draft tonight at 8 o'clock on ESPN. All right, folks, we're going to take one more break because we have one more segment to go. Stick with us.
I need something you prove, something stronger than I'm used to. Yeah, I've been pulling 92 on and feel like nothing's gonna cut it. That's the hard truth. Yeah, I need something you.
Welcome back, everybody, to Off the Cuff. Adam Banks here with you. Last segment of the hour. Dale says on the show thread, I forgot to tell everybody my source for the NFL draft board. I tried to tell everybody my source, but I cannot seem to find it in my notes. So there you go. That's why I did not tell you where I got those prospect draft picks. This is Morgan Wallen that I'm coming into. A lot of Kentuckians and a lot of people in the surrounding area went and watched him in concert in Louisville. But Morgan Wallen has been in the news lately because at his last concert, he canceled it just minutes before having to come out and perform. Now that is something that could almost be unforgivable if you don't have a good reason. His reason? He lost his voice. Now what he did when he canceled is, instead of coming out and trying to have somebody explain what was going on and him standing beside there, he just no-showed the audience. He didn't say anything. In fact, he just wrote a message on the board, or his producer wrote a message on the big screen and told everybody that Morgan lost his voice and that all tickets will be refunded at the point of purchase. Amazing. As a matter of fact, I think as a performer, there could have been other things you could have done. Now, I am not a fan of lip syncing. I just think that if you are a lip syncer, you need to go ahead and get out of the industry, because lip syncing, it's not really performing. You are fake. So I don't respect anybody who lip syncs. So I don't want to say he should have come out and lip synced the concert. However, he could have approached the way he canceled the concert differently. He could have come out and, yes, maybe he didn't have a voice to even speak, but he could have at least showed face to show the audience, hey, I'm still here. I showed up for you, but I literally can't do the concert because I have no voice. And that would have at least let the audience see Morgan Wallen, because now there's rumors starting to swirl that it wasn't his voice that he lost for the reason that he canceled the concert. They're saying that he was too drunk to go out and perform, and because of him being too drunk to perform, that's the reason he canceled it. Well, you know how you stop rumors like that? You go out, you show face, and you show the audience that you are still capable of performing other than your voice being over with. But he didn't. He decided to just put the message on the board, and rumors started to swirl. So who knows? Who knows what the real truth is? Morgan Wallen has been a controversial country singer from his beginning. He was caught on a Ring doorbell shouting out some racial slurs, and he was also now accused of being too drunk to show up to a concert. Now, I don't know whether or not that's true. I don't care. I don't really like Morgan Wallen. He won that karaoke contest a few years ago. What's it called? The Voice or American Idol? He won something like that. And because of that, he went viral, which is a great way to get immediate fame. Go to the karaoke shows, win that contest, and boom, you're famous. And that's what Morgan Wallen did, and people seem to like Morgan Wallen, and people seem to forgive him for a lot. Now, I've seen online that a lot of people are boycotting his music, but I feel like that the people that are saying that are the people that were there, because they really got upset over it. But the people that wasn't there and wasn't really affected over Morgan Wallen, they don't really care, because opposite of what I just said, there's people that didn't go to the concert that saying, hey, I'm still going to like Morgan Wallen. If you want to sell me your merchandise for a discount price, I'll buy it. So again, I think that people are just going to keep forgiving Morgan Wallen for all of the mistakes that he tends to keep making in his career. So I don't know. I think that canceling a concert minutes before you are supposed to go out is just the wrong way to do it. The wrong way to do it. You got everybody's hopes up. You got everybody wanting to be there and watch you, and you canceled it just minutes before. Now, I'm not here saying that he wasn't telling the truth. I'm not on the radio saying that he did not lose his voice. He could have. He just went about it the wrong way. There's other things that you could have done, and I think the best thing he could have done if he had no voice was to show face, was to walk out in front of the audience, let the audience see him, and that way they know he's not drunk, he can stand, and he's capable of doing the concert other than not having a voice. If he decided he didn't want to lip sync, I respect that. I honestly respect people who don't lip sync versus people who do. So I don't think you're a true artist if you go out and lip sync. I don't. That's not being an artist. You're not being a singer if you're lip syncing. And I'll say that about anybody. I'll say that about Madonna, who lip synced a lot. I'll say that about Michael Jackson, who lip synced a lot. Now, yes, they're great performers, some of the best performers of all time. You can't argue that Michael Jackson is not one of the greatest performers of all time, but he lip synced a lot. Does he have the best voice? No. But really, Michael was known more for his dancing than his voice. Morgan is known for singing and drinking, I guess now. But Chad says on the show thread, FYI, Wallen didn't win The Voice. So he didn't win The Voice. He just was a participant on that show. And there's a lot of people who go on those shows and don't win and still get notoriety from shows. Like Jennifer Hudson. She was on American Idol. She didn't win the American Idol, but went on to become an Oscar-winning actress. There's Daughtry. You remember the band Daughtry? They didn't win American Idol or Chris Daughtry didn't, and he went on and started his own band. Come on, there's more. Clay Aiken. Clay Aiken didn't win American Idol, and look how famous he got. And then Morgan Wallen didn't win The Voice, and now he just falls right into the category. But I don't know. That's an interesting stories that always are developing about that guy. But there you go, folks. That pretty much wraps up today's episode. If you liked what you heard today, you will probably like our previous episode. So check us out on podcast. We can be found on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, or all major podcasting platforms. You can follow the show on social media at Off the Cuff with Adam Banks. You can follow me, the host, on social media at The Adam Banks. We release new episodes every Thursday from 4 to 5, which means I will be back, same time, same place, right here on Radio Lex, WLXU 93.9 FM. And folks, I will leave you with this. Take care of yourself and each other.
My sweet little thing.